What is up, chefs, foodies, and students? Welcome to Everybody Knows. I'm Anders. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Today we are talking about dandelion. As far as we know, this ingredient originally comes from Europe. It is not currently known well in many cuisines, but it is used in cuisines all around the world as food and medicine. If you are investigating origins and cultures, be sure to research the time period as well, since many foods are brought to other cultures from elsewhere or developed over time. So looking at this ingredient, it's actually interesting because the entire plant is edible and different parts are used for different things. So we'll start with the root, which is also what we'll focus on in the wheel. And so dandelion root usually comes dried and possibly roasted. It can be used as a coffee alternative, and the aroma is not terribly far away. In my opinion, this is even more pleasant than roasted coffee, but it definitely has a sort of darkness, like an earthiness, but also that like sort of floral to fruity kind of aroma as well. And then we have the greens, and the greens are just as good as any other leafy green. These are perfectly fresh, young dandelion leaves. And when we're looking at these, in the store you'll find them much bigger if you're buying them. Otherwise, they should just look like a healthy leaf, just like any other leafy green. And you'll also probably see some coloring on the stems that gets to the pinkish red from the base of the stem. And then finally, the flower, we see it has a really beautiful yellow petaling. It also has some green outer portions that we typically wouldn't eat or use in cooking, as they tend to get more bitter. But the flower should look well saturated with water and not thirsty or wilty. In terms of the aroma for the leaves, I'm trying to focus on the aroma because it is a bitter green. It's not awful. It's similar to like a radicchio, but it definitely tastes like a dandelion flower smells. That's super interesting. So a gently floral leafy green, but otherwise not a strong aroma. And then for the flower, in terms of aroma, oh, that's interesting. Did I just get my nose all yellow? Maybe. Okay, so I had to smell this probably like 50 times in a row just now, but I think I get sort of a seediness from it that I think I smell from my past, something like birdseed. But I'm going to pull some of it out, give it a little bit of a chew as well to see what we can tease out of it. There's really not much going on in terms of a raw product. Now, dandelion flowers are sometimes used in fermentation, and so that flavor can change in that regard, but otherwise, I might consider just using this as a garnish with maybe a very mild aroma, but there's really not much going on. Let's have a look at the aroma wheel. So to break this down, at the moment, none of these components are on the wheel. I have already put several of them onto the next version of the wheel. But in this version, they are not currently there. But let's take a look at where they would be. We'll start with the root, like we started with the root before. We would find it somewhere in this category. That would be within earthy and within earthy floral, because it would be something akin to a dark chocolate or a cocoa nib and some kind of roasted coffee bean. And I think, yeah, it would fit probably somewhere in between. And this would also be, or it would probably be here with carob and linden in sort of like the similar to chocolate but not chocolate. So it's definitely somewhere in this category. As far as the greens, we would be down here in vegetative. So let's have a look at where the greens might be. Again, not a ton of aroma, a little bit of a floral aroma that I sort of associated with the flower, but I think now is maybe something I smelled just from the greens. And so it would probably be just right here within leafy greens somewhere. I think maybe with frise, I'd have to smell them side by side to know for sure. But it could be that it pairs right almost exactly with some of these other sort of bitter greens potentially. And then finally, where would we put the flower? We would likely be in the floral department. And we would be looking, let's see, probably within muted. It's kind of got this seediness to it again that I'm kind of like not mystified by, but it is interesting. So it might be closer to the edge in pungent and musky, even though it's not that strong. It makes me wonder if it would belong closer to the root vegetables because of that component. I'm not sure. All that to say, if you have opinions about that, please put them in the comments. I would love to know. So I think we've covered the basics here in terms of evaluating all of these ingredients. I think one of the things to note is that the association with the root has been socially pushed kind of towards the coffee aroma world. And so to like think and use it that way makes sense, but also like I've been working on a kombucha flavor that uses dandelion root in a way that goes more with citrus, and so considering another direction for that might be good. As far as the greens, I think it's a nice light bitter green to add to either something stewed or something braised, maybe just fresh in salads would be nice. And then for the flower, obviously there's fermentation methods going on out there, but also it's a beautiful color. And so if you wanted to add it to things just for a splash of color, it wouldn't hurt. And has a slightly grainy, seedy flavor in my opinion. And that seems like a good summary. Let's take a quick look at the flavor Bible. Okay, the only presence of dandelion in this book is for the greens. And ingredients that they say go well with dandelion greens include cheese, eggs, garlic, greens, other greens, lemon, mushrooms, mustard, oil, onions, pasta, pine nuts, salads, tomatoes, and other types of vinegar. And so, if you are experimenting, those might be good places to start. And that about wraps it up. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about dandelion and all of its parts as you are cooking or eating, and as well as some of the words that we use to describe it. Have you ever used any of these ingredients in a way that you were like, yeah, that was awesome? I would love to know about it. Please tell me in the comments. Also, do you agree or disagree with any of the things that I showed you with the wheel or any of the things that I've said? And what ingredient should we look at next? Any of the answers to those questions, throw them in the comments. I would love to read them. I hope this video about dandelion ingredients made sense and was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to help me get an ingredient to feature in a video, please send me an email or private message. If you would like to join the food aroma nerdery, feel free to subscribe and you'll see all my latest vids. And if you would like either a large poster or digital copy of the wheel, have a look in the description for links. Thanks so much. Bye.